Folks, you probably are aware of the crime that was committed in Fort Worth. The crime was committed by a Fort Worth police officer. And this happens quite a bit. I'm going to play this particular video, which includes the arrest of a mother and her two daughters for a fabricated crime. The police officer was called out because a crime had been committed. But instead of him acting on the actual crime, he decided to create one. Here's the clip.
Police kill people every day on video, and that
Bree Hyman gave a passionate explanation why she started recording a now viral video of her mother's arrest by a Fort Worth police officer.
and that could have easily been my mother, myself, or my 15-year-old sister. That's why I felt it was the need to record it, because that could have been anybody, and that couldn't have been his taser that he pulled out. That could have been his weapon.
The incident happened Wednesday afternoon. Jacqueline Craig, in the white shirt, is seen trying to explain to a Fort Worth police officer that a man, one of her neighbors, had choked her son for littering.
My son is 7 years old. You don't have the right to grab him, choke him behind no paper that he do. What you should have done, because we have been living here for years, so you know that my house is a door in between yours. You could have came to me. Don't put your hands on my son.
Then, things escalated when the officer appeared to begin criticizing Craig.
He had told to me that my son littered, but it doesn't matter if he did or didn't. It doesn't give him the right to put his hands on it.
The officer warns her if she continues to yell, he'll take her to jail. Then,
See, and that's the first part. The mother stated that whether he littered or not, that didn't give him the right to put his hands on, and there's the white guy right there, to put his hands on her son. The police officer had already spoken to this guy, and the guy had admitted that he had choked his boy. Right then and there, the whole thing should have stopped, and the cop should have arrested that guy. But instead, he chastises the mother and asks her a stupid question: why doesn't the guy have the right to choke your son? This guy needs to be fired, period. But let's continue.
a daughter steps in to talk to her mom, and that's when it got chaotic. The video jumps to the officer putting Craig on the ground and handcuffing her. He then goes over to the daughter and puts handcuffs on her. All the while, those nearby were yelling and screaming. Craig, her 19-year-old daughter, and her 15-year-old daughter were arrested, charged with resisting arrest. Craig was also charged with failure to identify. The 15-year-old charged with a misdemeanor. After spending the night in the Mansfield jail, they bonded out this afternoon.
I'm very distraught because what I felt I was doing was actually protecting my child, and it didn't happen. It made me feel less of a parent, that I couldn't protect him when he needed it.
In a late news conference, Lee Merritt, Craig's attorney, demanded 4 things.
We're looking for the charges levied against our clients to be dismissed.
Craig's family also wants the man accused of choking her son arrested. The other 2 things involve the officer seen in the video.
We want to see the officer responsible, Officer Martin. We would like to see him immediately fired, and we would also like to see him prosecuted as well for his assault on the family.
The Fort Worth Police Department issued a statement saying, in part, "We ask that our investigators are given time and opportunity to thoroughly examine this incident and to submit their findings. We ask our community for patience and calm during this investigative process."
Okay, now that's standard procedure for trying to kick this down the road and letting sufficient time to pass in order for the seriousness of the situation to die down. They do this every single time when a cop is in the wrong.
In his closing statement, the attorney for the family remarked about the white officer, his client, who was black, and whether race is a component in what happened.
Went out there. You had two citizens out there. One who admitted to committing a crime. He said, I choked the kid because he defied me. And another one who simply said, my son was the victim of a crime. The difference between those two being citizens was one was white and the other was black. The white guy went home that night. My client just got out of jail recently. So the inference of racism is there. And unless they can offer a more plausible explanation why this happened or why countless incidents of just like this happen all over the country, then we're going to call a spade, and it's racism.
What we've seen over the last few days with the video that surfaced.
Tarrant County leaders talked Friday about the viral video of the arrest of Fort Worth mom Jacqueline Craig and her two daughters.
I can't call it racism. What I can say is that I noticed.
See, and then they always trot out your token black guy to defend the criminal behavior of other police officers. And of course, he's blind to the situation, and he's seen the video, and he acknowledges that he's seen the video from start to finish. Based solely on that video, there obviously is a problem. Now, what they're not allowing us to see is the body cam from that officer. All Fort Worth police officers have body cams. They're in the next county over from me, about not even 15 minutes away. But regardless, they are refusing to release that particular body cam video so that we could see everything from, quote unquote, the officer's perspective. But there was enough in this video for even this person to acknowledge that what the officer did and how he handled the situation was wrong. But let me continue.
In the video that the officer was rude. And, there's a difference between rude and racism.
How Craig was arrested, a taser pointed at her and one of her daughters touched a nerve with State Rep Nicole Collier.
I was outraged by what I saw on the video. I'm going to say that I was outraged. The behavior, instead of actually trying to calm the situation, this police officer engaged in behavior that was not in line with the standard of conduct with the Fort Worth Police Department.
From what I saw in the video, it appeared to me that the police officer there escalated the situation and was kind of being, rude and condescending to the taxpayer and citizen that called the police onto the scene.
Yeah, everybody can see that the police officer escalated the situation. It would have been a whole lot better for him to turn around, just get in his car and take off without doing anything. But no, he decided that he was going to go after that black woman and her two daughters. By the way, the third daughter, her crime, videoing the entire situation. That's what she was arrested for. And obviously, videoing a police officer is not a crime.
And we just can't have that.
While the world has seen the viral Facebook post, only a few have seen the body camera video. And we won't. The chief says it won't be released because it involves a juvenile. And when pressed, Fitzgerald pushed back.
And the nature of that question is trying to get the video released. We are not playing, we're not going to try to inflame the public with questions like that. That is irresponsible.
That's not inflaming the public, that's informing the public. And then the public can draw their own conclusions from that video. And if it just so happens that the public gets pissed off, and rightfully so, that's what it is.
There's an open investigation.
The public appeal from Tarrant County leaders, let the process work. I asked Jacqueline Craig with her attorney how she would feel if the process found the officer did not violate rules.
Distraught, because it's absurd. How can you not feel like he didn't do anything wrong?
And we asked Chief Fitzgerald if he felt the allegation involving the 7-year-old being choked was given the proper attention.
When we have an incident where there's some type of assertion that a juvenile has been inappropriately touched, injured, whatever, that should take precedence. And for the 99.9% of our police officers in this police department that would have handled that case differently, I thank them.
So anyway, back to this guy. And I thank the Advice Show because they had the actual clip, and you just saw Phil. Anyway, this guy basically should have suspended that guy, number one, for the actions that he took against the woman, and number two, for ignoring the crime. That guy shouldn't be on restricted duty. He should be suspended, but obviously he's not. And then people wonder why black people really have no faith whatsoever in the police department. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to continue to follow up on this story to see what happened, since it's a fairly local story for me. Hopefully, after the quote-unquote investigation is done, this guy will be fired for his actions. But I'm not going to hold out a lot of hope for that one.